This is my butterfly house.
This is our butterfly house.
Hi, my name's Jan and this is my butterfly house.
This is my butterfly house, number 80 Melrose Avenue. I've lived in this particular house for about 23 years. Previous to that I lived in number 84.
We've lived here for nearly 4 years.
I like the fact that it's not symmetrical. None of the walls are straight, so it's a nightmare putting floors down or carpets down or anything like that, or putting anything on the wall. And I quite like that, it gives it a bit of character.
I've lived here 24 years. I moved in just after it had been refurbished. It's big enough inside. I've had a fantastic life.
The butterfly houses were built first on Stoops Estate in the 1920s, when the residential areas in South West Burnley were first developed. And they were built in the 30s on Hartcheclough Estate and Bleak House Estate. And they were also known as the family houses because they housed, on the whole, very, very large families.
Hi, my name's Linda and this is my butterfly house.
Hiya, this is my mum's butterfly house.
Once I kind of hit on the idea that it was going to be about housing, I began to look for people who had an association with the butterfly houses. And I came across a very lovely lady called Irene. She grew up in a butterfly house on Bleak House Estate, and her mother was one of the first residents there. And that kind of really struck a chord with me because my grandmother was one of the first residents on Hartcheclough. And we both had these very kind of positive memories of growing up in South West Burnley in big families in these big houses.
This is my sister's butterfly house.
This is our butterfly house.
She went rummaging upstairs and brought down lots of photographs of growing up in the house. And she also brought down the plans. Her original idea in getting the plans was to ask one of her sons-in-law, I think, to do her a tiny little house of where she grew up. Of the many stories that I'd come across, that was the one that really kind of struck a chord with me because of the connection with the houses and growing up there.
We used to have a few laughs over years, you know, hanging around when scaffoldings used to be up at cabins, and we used to jump off cabins onto sand and, you know, things like that.
I used to do the paper round for this estate as a child with my friend on a Sunday. And we used to run round the estate as fast as we could because everybody used to say, it's the council estate, don't go across on the council estate. So we used to do the paper round probably twice as fast as anybody else.
So we decided to do just a very simple timber frame construction and just use large sections of chipboard.
Hiya, my name's Emma and this is the butterfly house in Habigan Mill, and I've painted this. Aches and pains as well, and I just feel like it's part of my artwork. So it was a really nice space to work in, it was really calm. It just weren't like you were getting stressed at or anything like that. I just liked it that it was just like an old, like dirty like space with a clean, clinical white box in it, you know, when we'd done it. It was good, yeah, and I'd do it again.
The architectural features, the doors and the windows, were all kind of taken on the different estates. They're not from one particular house. They were all taken from different ones, blown up, done in scale to the scale of the house, which is just over 12 foot high.
Hello, my name's Ash and this is my butterfly house.
This is my butterfly house.
We moved in about 2.5, 3 months ago. In the process we're still living out of boxes and bits and bats as I'm trying to get the house prepared and decorated for when the twins come, which shouldn't be long. I'm halfway in the process of doing the last section of the big long living rooms that they've got. Hopefully I'll be finished in a couple of days, but don't tell wife. It might take a bit longer. But other than that, yeah, it's nice to work in, especially when you've got good neighbours as well. Neighbours always help, being able to take strain for kids sometimes when they're getting on their feet. As down at the old place, you just didn't have that down there. But yeah, if it's a good community and you've got good people around you, I think everything works out right. Well, this is my living room. When we first moved in here, it was brown, dingy, dark, horrible, dado rail round, no coving, nothing. I've stripped everything back, as you can see. I've put coving up all the way around, new striped wallpaper on, lining papered walls and painted, fancy design paper on the chimney stack, and the other end of the room is going to mirror this end. I'm hoping for a real good Christmas this year. I've always had a thing for having big, real Christmas trees. Just never had the space or the place to put them in. And with this new big room, we'll hopefully have a good Christmas this year and move on for plenty more to come.
Well, when we started to do this, I mean, initially we had the butterfly, so we started doing those. There were the giant photographs that the lady had actually gone and got photographs and enlarged them, and then we cut them down and started looking at the history. And yes, to be honest with you, it brought the best out in us because we'd forgotten. They were a generation of forgotten people with good values, you know, from the old school of good values.
Some of the big photographs on it are of kind of specific people. This, for example, is Irene's mother, Mrs. Walsh, who was one of the first tenants on Bleak House. That's my father standing in front of my grandmother's house. My grandmother lived on the bottom of Melrose in a butterfly house.
We were absolutely overly excited over it. You know, we thought it was phenomenal for the group round here and the people round here to celebrate our heritage.
These people here are Mr. and Mrs. Fentiman, and their granddaughter's been to visit the house. She was the lady that I sourced the photographs off. They lived on Hartcheclough and then moved to Stoops Estate and had a combined span of about 40 years in these houses. And they were particularly interesting because her family background was as a bargee. She'd never lived in a house until she moved to Hartcheclough, when the life of living solely on the canals had come to an end, and they had to find, you know, static housing, and this is where they moved to.
As days went by and it got more and more photographs and more things in it, it was absolutely brilliant.
And what's the reaction been like around the community to people who've been involved with it and people who went to see it?
Everybody's absolutely loved it. Everybody I've spoke to who's been to see it have loved it.
I like a lot of, I got one of these houses down here. I once bought one of these houses down here, and to look at it now, you know, when it was like this, like it's had like an old concrete park on it, then it's been updated again, then updated again. So to look back and think, oh my God, you know, that used to be so and so, that used to be so and so.
A lot of the pictures, because have come from people in the area. So they're people's mums, people's grandmas who moved here, I don't know, 50s, 40s, just after the war. It holds a lot of memories for people. There's people who've walked through the door and burst into tears because they've seen it. So there's just all this stuff coming out that I had no idea about.
To us, it was a real house. You know, in our minds, it was a real house. And it was a real time and a real place and real people. So we could all connect to it, you know, whether it be our families, we could all connect to each other in that nostalgia.
You know, it was just a bit of a free-for-all, really, as to who chose to put images on and where they placed them. People were also encouraged to leave notes and messages, and a couple of people did, about the pride that grandparents felt when they got their first council house. And this was a lovely note left by one of the residents who lives on Stoops Estate now.
It was just 2 weeks before I was due to be born, and he got called back to work to go and help rescue them and bring them back out.
19 men and boys died, and many of the men who died were from Hart to Clough, Accrington Road, Stoops Estate, and you know, there were kind of like lots and lots of memories.
It's affected people because a lot of people talk about, well, always know about it and that, and there's memorials everywhere.
Yeah, the whole idea of creating this space within a space was for individuals and groups in the area to come and interact with it. At the beginning of the week of the exhibition, the local craft group came in, and together they constructed a whole bunch of small properties out of cardboard.
The thing for the day at the craft group was making house lanterns, which ended up going inside the house.
Initially these were garages, but they've been turned into side extensions, and I also built a loft conversion in the top, because where I've moved from, that's what they incline to do. They maximise the amount of space.
The majority of houses in South West Burnley are council, so I did a pebble dashed one, but I got bored of doing all the dots, so it's just got a few.
We put them in a horseshoe shape, and then we put some Christmas lights in there so they was lit up, and they look really nice.
Well, you've lived here for what?
20.
No, you lived with your mother, didn't you?
Yeah, 30
so,
years.
About 30 years, and we've lived here for about 23 years.
This is my sister's house. She's lived here about 2-3 years now, I think. Hopefully. She'll be here a lot longer. She likes it up here. She's just getting everything sorted, the gardens and stuff. So, that's it.
Well, we've had 3 children here, and when they brought 3 kids up, it's just a family house. It's a good family property, and always has been. There's lots of people, the neighbours and that. There's plenty of memories with them. It's quite a neighbourly area.
Really good neighbours.
Yeah, the neighbours are, you know, you couldn't ask for any better neighbours. It's a nice place to live, technically. Our little piece of green England.
You might not believe it, so people might not believe it, it's very, very peaceful. It's quiet. Now we're getting a bit of community together. It's very nice. It's beautiful gardens. It's great.
For the week that the exhibition was up and running, I programmed in lots of different events to kind of, you know, create a different atmosphere in the space every day. I was keen to bring an element of theatre or performance into the space. On one of the days we had Ursula Holden-Gill, who's a professional storyteller. The space was suddenly transformed into a theatre with people laughing, Ursula playing the ukulele and clog dancing in a genuine pair of Lancashire clogs. We had 2 more actors that I've worked with and have got relationships with, and they came in and picked up on some of the stories that I told them about the first residents, and they brought lots of props and sort of set up with a very impromptu short piece about the people who moved to the estates and where they came from.
Welcome to our butterfly house. He's a Burmese python. He's 17 years old. He eats rabbits 3 times a month, and he's just a good pet. And the kids around here love him.
He goes in the swimming pool.
Goes in my grandkids' paddling pool.
The paddling pool.
And he weighs in about 12.5 stone. So he is quite heavy. Where are you going? A lot of people think we're crazy, but he's just another pet.
As well as the images on the house, there were kind of about 100 enlarged school photographs from the schools in the area that no longer exist, that have been pulled down during the regeneration. And lots of people recognised classmates and relatives. So we ended up having a bit of like a photo jumble, just piling the photographs on the tables as people kind of rooted through them, looking for people they knew, looking for connections, which was, you know, really kind of heartwarming because it led to lots of discussion and lots of conversation.
In a lot of ways, we were celebrating everything that, you know, the values that people really do believe in, that we maybe take for granted sometimes.
When I first turned up, I didn't get it. I wasn't even sure I really liked it. It was just this white thing in the corner. But by the end of 2 hours, we'd created something. And I think I came nearly every day after that, just because I kind of fell in love with it.
A lot of people have made a lot of new friends who only live within a quarter of a mile from where we've actually done the work.
Family members came in, daughters, sons, granddaughters, great-grandsons of people who were on the house. And I had quite a few people standing there in tears, which I wasn't expecting and I wasn't prepared for at all. It was a tremendous sense of pride that their families had been noticed, had been kind of singled out in some way for the length of time they've been in this area. There was always that sense of coming back home, coming back to your roots, and desperately wanting to do well because it mattered. So I did put a heck of a lot of work into it because I was playing to a home crowd, and yeah, they were going to be supportive to an extent, but there's always that familiarity allows for kind of very honest criticism as well. And people in South West Burnley are very plain speaking. So, you know, some distant cousin could have come in here and said, "What's all this then?" But that's not what happened. People really warmed to it, and you know, I think the work that I put in paid off in the end in that respect because I didn't get that response from anybody.
You're proud to be from Burnley. You're brought up here. It's one of the, you know, you should be proud to be from wherever you are.
I hope to be here in a lot of years to come. I hope for my family to be in a lot of years to come, and it is a nice area.
Yeah, it's great living around here.
And people help each other. You know, we look after each other's houses when they're away, and we help each other out when people need help.
Yes, I know there were riots years ago and I lived here then, but that was a small minority who got away from themselves. The majority are not like that. We look after each other, keep an eye on each other's houses, and at the moment, you know, they're looking after me because I'm not very well.
I'm very proud of this area. You know, I'm proud of who we are, and I'm proud of our roots around here. You know, I'm proud of our basic values. I'm very, very proud to be one of these people.